Hey Lincoln, you talked about how when you watch a spring game, you kind of have to do it wearing two hats. So I'm just curious, when you look at the run game stuff that you saw from Saturday, how did you process it from both sides of the ball?
Uh,
Employee. Moments later, they say he broke into his parents'
if
Camarillo home,
if
armed with
you're
what we
Could
now
you mute
know is
yourself
an
if you're not
airsoft
speaking?
gun. Thankfully,
There we go. Found it.
Now we're talking. All right. It started off about like that did. Now we there was some good, some bad, some in between. I think on both sides. Uh, I thought the that first O line was pretty solid. Played pretty good, pretty mistake free. Gave the guys some nice lanes to run in. Uh, I thought second O line. We had a couple guys we thought really stood up and played well. Thought Elijah Page really played well. Um, Cooper did a nice job. Mason Murphy did a nice job. He bounced back and forth a little bit between both, but those there were some good things in the run game, which that some of that for the O line. I think it certainly helps at times when you simplify both offensively and defensively. There's not a lot of moving bullets coming at you, and you're just kind of playing a little more straight up. So I thought that helped some of the young guys. Certainly, I thought the backs we missed a few cuts, but had some explosive runs. Obviously, I thought the two young guys played well. Darwin also had a couple nice runs. Obviously, Marshawn had the obviously the swing pass. It was really a good play. It's kind of a glorified perimeter run. Defensively, we got in the backfield quite a bit. Had a couple chances to get the guys down in the backfield that we missed. Obviously, we made a few of them. Had some TFLs. Were pretty active at times. Uh, I thought we missed a couple of tackles, especially a couple of the runs that got out. Missed a few tackles that we need to make. But there was also some really good open field tackles and some really good tackling on display. And so, yeah, I mean, I thought the first groups, we misfit a run. I think the second play of the spring game, and other than that, the first groups were like pretty good ball and pretty competitive on both sides. The second groups and some of the third groups were as expected. There were some big plays and some really good things. There were also mistakes on both sides that gave the other sides chances to make big plays that they capitalize off of. So, yeah, it was obviously a pretty, vanilla in terms of scheme. And really at that point, you're just evaluating, guys coming off the ball, guys getting off blocks, right? Guys that can run through tackles, guys that obviously you're counting on to be able to make those open field tackles and those one-on-one tackles. So, yeah, I mean, there's some good, some bad, some in between. A lot of we went a little bit more live this spring than we went the previous spring, and I thought that certainly showed up. You could tell it's good for obviously both sides, but we tackled a lot defensively this spring. Even the days that we weren't allowed to go full contact or go to the ground, there was some type of tackling drill every single day of spring, and often more than one. And I thought the results of that were positive, and it's helping us as ball carriers too. I mean, it's there's obviously beneficial to both because it's certainly different. It's different when you got to tackle somebody to the ground when you're not doing it all the time. It's obviously different as a ball carrier when you're getting tackled to the ground, and both for ball security and trying to come out of those tackles. So we did more of it this spring, and I would anticipate having a fall camp where relative to last year we do a little bit more as well.
Ryan Young.
And again, thanks for the time today. Appreciate it. Could you provide some clarity on the Ethan White situation? And then with losing Cortland Ford to the portal, how do you feel about the O-line depth overall at this point?
Yeah, Ethan. I think unfortunately there's an injury there that, best of my knowledge right now, I think the plan is I think kind of reevaluating, you know, uh, if he's going to play football further. And that's the kind of the chief reason that we're in this. I don't want to, take any announcement or any, take away any of his ability communicate it on his own terms, but there's an injury situation that looks like it's going to prevent him from playing further, and I'll let him take it from there. Obviously, we were excited to get him, but it's football, and certainly these things come up, and we get it. There's football, and then there's also long-term health, and we understand guys have got to make those decisions and the best decisions for themselves. So disappointed for that, but that's again, that's unfortunately part of this game. Yeah, and then with Cortland, with Cortland on his way out, certainly gonna, two guys that you expected to be here that now aren't going to be here, which that's the nature of the beast now. So yeah, we're certainly going to look at, bringing a guy or two in here. There's no question. You've got to, that's an important position. Obviously, we're bringing in some freshmen that we're really excited about, but they're also, those guys are true freshmen. And when you lose, essentially two older guys that you expected to have on the roster, and all of a sudden they're not going to be there, we certainly, it's something that has to be addressed, and we're going to try to get it addressed here in the next several weeks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Connor?
Hey, Coach, going back to that first drive of the spring game, as a head coach, did you have mixed feelings about that drive? Of course, very happy that the offense went down and scored in 3 plays, but defensively, maybe were you hoping for more resistance against a Caleb-led first unit?
I don't read too much into that drive. I mean, I get for you guys and the fans and all that when you don't see it every day, that's the one drive that you guys are gonna have to judge it on. I've got about 100 drives from this spring to be able to judge it on, and Caleb made a great throw, on the first play. Corner got a little too aggressive on a seam ball. It may have looked easy from up top. That's not a very normal play on the first play. And like I said, we busted a run fit, and then Mario made a phenomenal catch on a well-covered ball on the third play. I mean, it was, spring was, I know as I've talked to you guys, here, regardless of who was at quarterback, Caleb or anybody else, spring was very, very much back and forth. And there were a lot of days where, a Caleb-led offense didn't move the ball very well and didn't score touchdowns. And so, I mean, do I expect us to play better defensively than we did on 2 of those 3 plays? Yes. Am I freaking out? No. I mean, there's some good players on that offense. They're going to make some plays. There's some good players on defense. And there was, again, if the entire spring was like that, would I have concerns? Yeah, sure I would. But it was, then the entire spring was a little bit more like the rest of that scrimmage. Honestly, it was like I've said many times, very back and forth.
Ryan?
Hey, Lincoln, I know you got to see a lot of Malachi and Miller in the spring game. Just kind of curious your thought of where the state of that, QB2 spot is, and just with Malachi in general, where do you need to see the most progress with him kind of heading into the fall?
Yeah, I mean, I thought both those guys had very valuable springs. Miller, as I've told you guys, Miller's really progressed. And I think still a lot of room for growth, but he has really improved physically. And I think that's been apparent to everybody in the program. He's throwing the ball better. He's moving better. And he's very confident in his knowledge of the system and where to go with the ball and what to do. So I thought he had a really good spring. He's, led the guys. He got a chance to get a lot of good work with some of the other ones, coming out of spring, which was really good. And I mean, he played well in spring. I thought he played pretty well in the spring game. Kind of does what he does. He moves the offense. He's efficient. He puts the ball where it's supposed to be. Makes very few mistakes, and has really kind of learned and owned the player he is and what's going to make him successful. So I've been impressed with him. I mean, obviously these decisions don't, depth chart and all those decisions don't get made until later on. But I mean, he's pretty clearly the second guy right now. I mean, that's no surprise. Malachi, I give Malachi a lot of credit because a lot of guys kind of with the physical some of the physical limitations he had this spring, a lot of guys would have maybe tapped out or tried to save face and not even taking the reps. And he started spring football without having thrown a football in months, which is not ideal. And he's but I think we and he, I think, understood the bigger picture, that even though he wasn't physically in a great place, for him just to get the reps and have to communicate and go through it and was more important. And so no, he learned, he grew a lot. He started to throw the ball towards the end of spring a little closer to what he's capable of. He's still, certainly not 100%, but really improved in communication, getting more comfortable. And I think he'll have a very clear picture on what he needs to do better. He did some really good things in the spring game. He did. He had the two that obviously can't happen. The ball security on the fumble, and then the third down interception that Christian Pierce made, where we just didn't see coverage and really throw the ball the right kind of way if we're going to throw it there. And so, but thought he did a great job on the 2-minute drive. I mean, getting down there and getting that ball up in the end zone, kind of given the scenario, was just kind of that drive, and to have that poise as a freshman to go do it was really cool. And he made a couple great throws that we didn't catch. We had a couple that should have been touchdowns that we didn't come down with. So he's the Malachi's gonna be a really good player. He'll get a lot better. What these guys, when they come in early, what it helps in the summer is, like, now they have a clear picture of what they need to do to get better, right? It's like, I've been out there a little bit. I've competed. I've seen what it's like. I've seen a little bit of what it takes. I know where I'm deficient. Like, I know the areas I got to attack mentally, physically. And I think it kind of clarifies that picture for them. Like, it's, vision for somebody on the outside. It's like, now you got that target that you know exactly what you're shooting for, and you really can go get it over the next 3 months before we report. So he'll get healthier, get stronger. Knowledge of the offense will get better. And I would suspect we'll see a much different player when we get back in July.
Jack?
Hey, Lincoln, of course, we've heard a lot about Malik Brown's new role, and over the past couple of weeks, this is our first time really getting to see it live in action. What's been your evaluation of how he's handled the transition, and what he brings to the offense? And is that the role that you expect to use him in 100% coming into the year?
He's done well. He had to miss 7 or 8 practices in the middle. He had just gotten back off of a just a soft tissue injury, and so that stunted it a little bit. We probably planned to do a little bit more with him, but given that he missed essentially half of spring, we decided to just kind of focus in on some of the perimeter work and some of the receiver work, which we did a little bit with him last year. We wanted to do a little bit more this spring, and we ended up doing that the majority of the spring. Whereas I think the plan is to get him in the backfield and do a little bit of all of it. And we didn't quite get there, but obviously his experience in the backfield from last year is still certainly there and extremely valuable going forward. It was good to really kind of coach him up on the perimeter and really kind of focus our work there. And I think he rapidly improved kind of skill set and the understanding of how to play out there well, versus maybe just doing 1 or 2 things out there like we did with him last year. So no, I think he's really improved. He's going to have to stay healthy. He's going to have to, continue to grow in his overall knowledge of the offense, because you'll want to do all that stuff with a guy, but he's got to be able to do it and function at a high level. And he's certainly capable of it. There's no question. So he made some real nice plays in the spring game, which is some great momentum for him coming out. And there's no telling how we'll use him. I mean, some of that's going to be dependent on him and how he improves. Some of it will be dependent on the other skill sets in the room or how we think we want to attack somebody a certain week. But he's certainly a guy that we expect to be able to, kind of be one of those pieces that we can do some pretty fun things with.
Eric?
Lincoln, looking at the group of early enrollees, the true freshmen as a whole, how did that group stack up maybe against groups you've had in the past, or even your own expectations for them coming in this spring?
Stacked up pretty well. I mean, we didn't get to see Malachi Crawford, really didn't get to see him much, obviously coming off of his injury and procedure. We won't have him till a little later on. But the rest of them we got to see and see a lot of them. And I don't, we're pretty excited about every one of them, to be honest. I mean, there's occasionally you get guys and they're not quite as far along as you'd hope they would be, but we didn't get to see it. We got to see a little bit of Makai Lemon, enough to certainly get plenty excited about. Wish we could have obviously seen more of him, but I think he's, even in the small bits we've seen, I mean, certainly feel good about his ability to contribute and have a chance to contribute to us very early. But all the rest of the guys got a ton of reps. It was great for them to get out there in the Coliseum, to get in front of fans, to go play. That's still a different feeling. So that day it was very valuable, but it's a pretty good group. It is. It's a group that's got a chance to do some pretty special things around here if they stick together and keep working and approaching it the way they are. Because it's I wouldn't trade them for any others. I can tell you that.
Adam?
Kind of still touching on that, Sam Green had a couple of good moments at rush edge in the spring game. What did you see from him? And then just kind of given the injury issues at that position, how do you feel about that spot as the transfer portal's open right now?
Yeah, he was one of the surprises of spring, not necessarily on that he would play well, but we recruited Sam thinking, probably would be in that field defensive end to 3 technique world. And when he came in, we got a chance to obviously be on the field with him, kind of see kind of where he was from a body weight standpoint. You get to really see him athletically, and he ended up being a little bit better fit for us at rush, which was honestly, again, was a little unexpected. But as we watched him in the offseason, it made the most sense. We moved him there, and he did a great job. He had a great spring. I mean, what you guys saw Saturday was, I mean, especially like the back half and even some early, but the back half of spring, that was every day. I mean, feel like he had 1 to 2 sacks every day. He did some really nice things, dropping into coverage. Mentally did a nice job picking it up. He was impressive. I mean, he's one of those freshmen that to me kind of staked his claim that he's going to be a factor, for us on the defensive side of the football and on special teams. And he's going to be a factor in some of these competitions. He will no doubt factor in at rush. I mean, there is the track that he's on right now is exciting. So we're excited about his potential, and he's going to get a lot better, but really, really impressed. And Jamil really had an impactful spring. He was in the backfield a lot. He's a tough matchup on the edge. And I think we'll do nothing but continue to improve. But he had an impactful spring. Obviously, we're excited to get Romello back. He's coming off a shoulder surgery, was still non-contact all spring for us, but he'll be full go starting this summer. And we've seen from the first spring around here, some of what this guy's capable of. So getting him back would be important. And then we've got obviously a handful of guys, still to come in. Braylon Shelby's on the way in, that we feel has a chance to be a impact player at that position. DJ Peavy had a knee injury right there at the end, so he won't be 100% when he gets here, and we'll see if he's going to be physically ready to help us this year coming off that injury. I think we've also just on the roster with the more competitive depth, we've probably got more movable pieces. We've probably got more people that we could shift depending on what happens. So we're still in the market, certainly on the defensive front. We'll as that kind of evolves, we'll kind of move the pieces around here. So I think we'd certainly take a look at any impact player there. We like what we have there, but we also know we've got some movable pieces on the entire front as far as what's currently here, and maybe more of them than we've had in the past. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch it unfold. Transfer portal's an unpredictable deal, as we all know. So I feel certain we'll upgrade. I don't know exactly where it will be, and kind of what other movement that would cause, but I like the I like the foundation that we have there right now.
Oliver?
Hey, Coach. I wanted to ask about Kyron Hudson. He's a fellow UK lad like myself. How's he developed this offseason, and what are your expectations for Kyron in what is a very competitive wide receiver room this season?
Yeah, Kyron had a really good spring. He did. He he and Rice and Jackson and Singer basically took all of the reps at outside receiver this spring, which it's a lot of reps to divvy up for 4 people. And he got a lot of great work, I think, built on some of the foundation that he established last year, in that he's an extremely reliable, tough player. And the ball in his area, he caught it. He made some great competitive catches. He's a really good blocker. Did some really nice things for us on special teams. I think his goal and our goal for him is for him to take the next step as a receiver, and make some of the explosive plays that he is capable of and take a bigger role in the offense. And I think he's certainly going to have a chance to do it. I think he's one of the tougher players that we have. He, again, got a little nicked up at times this spring, and he doesn't miss practice, and he doesn't miss games. Like he's always out there, and that reliability and that trust factor is huge for us. And he's certainly towards the top of the list on this football team and within this program. So yeah, I think he's, probably in some ways like a Sierra and some of the young guys that we had last year that were kind of contributing for the first time, that now are eager to go take that next step and are confident that they can do it. So I see no limits to what he can do. And I know that it's really glad he's on our football team.
Bruce?
Hey, Lincoln, obviously you guys had a lot of success with the portal. I'm curious, when it comes to evaluating and taking players out of the portal, is it harder to get intel on them character-wise maybe than it is with high school recruits? Like, how forthcoming are the schools they're leaving to get you guys some background, and how do you balance a need or a talent versus maybe the risk of what it could do to your locker room?
Yeah, I think, Bruce, I would say every school and every situation is different, right? It's some of it is certainly the terms that they're leaving on, or is it a school that other coaches, or you got relationships kind of with their staff. Every one of them is different, then that's certainly the challenge. I think you can, once these guys get in the portal, between being able to talk to obviously the guys, hopefully they're college coaches, at some point, family or a high school coach or other people, that they've worked with, you can, I feel like you can get the information, and there's probably another line of it because they've been in college. So that it's an advantage. The biggest thing with the portal is just the time crunch. It just happens typically really, really, really fast. And there's no going out to, you're not really, especially this time of year, you can't go out and see them, unless they're on your campus. I mean, there's no face-to-face contact, and the timeline puts a crunch on it. How we've managed the locker room, the kind of the vibe from within, I think we've been very honest with these transfers about what we're building, how we're building it, what's expected from this end, what those guys are walking into, and knowing that if that doesn't fit what the transfer really wants or is about, that we encourage them to not come here. And has that cost us some guys that we liked their on-field evaluation? Absolutely it has, but we can live with that. We're making that the priority. And then also it helps being able to get these transfers on campus and let them interact with our guys, and we've tried to, pair them up as far as like the recruiting hosts and all that with guys that, know what we're about and know what we're trying to bring in terms of the kind of character and the kind of guys in the locker room that really, they see the individual opportunity, but they really want to be a part of what we're building here. And obviously being able to get that feedback from those players has been very helpful as well. And we've just said, if we feel uneasy about that in any way, that we're just, we're going to go a different direction, and we've stuck to that. And I think that's helped us.
Thanks.
We'll wrap up with these last 3 hands. Mark?
Hey, Coach. Again, thanks for doing this.
Sure.
We talk about the development of the players and the roster over the spring. Can you maybe talk about your coaching staff and what you've seen from them from last year through the end of this spring, and maybe some of the development you've seen from them?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, we've challenged all of ourselves that if we're going to ask our players to do this, we better be doing the same thing as coaches, all of us. And I think we've used the example of, well, these players, now that they're in year 2 and everything's not brand new, and they're able to build on that foundation and learn. And we've talked about it with the group and individual guys. And I would say the same thing for the staff. I mean, that's, it's given us a real opportunity to dive deep into, what we did in the beginning and what we want to do going forward, the adjustments we want to make, the approach that we want to have, just the interactions within the staff are, they're smoother, they're more efficient. They're, relationships now kind of across a board. There's a trust and kind of a camaraderie that gets developed only by time and experience together. You can't fake that. You can't just have it. There's no pill for that. And so we're just like the players in that regard. And I think the way we're operating right now as a staff, the way we're communicating, the way we're working together, taking some of the knowledge that we all gained from last year, like you see the value in the continuity right now. I see it on a daily basis, and I'm excited because that's obviously the thought process is that transfers over to the players, and we do a better job with our players, a better job with the program. The players do a better job, and then obviously the product on the field gets better. And so that's certainly the big picture and thought process behind it. And now I think those in here on a daily basis can tell a difference. You can tell this year that everything is not brand new, even for all of us as a staff, and the way we are working together, not just the football staff, but even just within the university and the athletic department as a whole. When you come in the beginning and you shake things up the way we felt like we needed to shake things up, you're gonna have some inefficiencies. A little bit of it is just go, and you understand that's part of it. You got to make a decision. You're going to come in conservative, you're going to come in aggressive, and we came in aggressive. And now I think we're starting to hit a little bit closer to that optimal spot that you want to be in. And so no, I think, I've seen guys work better together. I've seen adjustments on the field. I've seen more efficient practices, just the communication within the rooms better, which again translates down to the players. I feel like we've taken some really good steps there, and we needed to, right? Like that's, again, I think the worst thing you can do as a leader, as a coach, is stand up in front of your group and say, I need you guys to improve by doing this, and this, but then they don't see you doing the same thing. Like it's hollow, it's meaningless. And so we've really worked hard and tried to be intentional to do it, and that's going to continue.
Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan?
We asked you about NIL a lot, but we haven't asked about House of Victory yet. And with that kind of coming from the foundation of Boulevard, what do you feel about that new direction for that collective? And with multiple collectives out there, is there one that you prefer that USC contributors are patronizing, or how do you look at the landscape now?
Well, I think now what's been established is we obviously have a few collectives out there, but you've got collectives that I think essentially are going to end up attacking kind of different areas or different sets of opportunities. We've said a lot. I mean, LA is so big, so vast, the people, the opportunities, you got the whole corporate side of it. I mean, there's so much that, could it ever be under one umbrella? Maybe, but that may be down the line. I mean, there's a lot to it right now. And so I think as this has evolved, you've seen some of these different collectives that have a confidence that they can tap into, different areas, whether it's different types of donors or boosters, whether it's different areas from a corporate standpoint, different parts of town. I mean, and I think all still, have a really positive impact because everybody wants the same thing at the end of the day. And so I think that's been healthy. And so there's several that are doing a really nice job, and I think are very positive. The House of Victory, specifically is impressive what they've done in a short amount of time. And they've obviously taken, I think, some of the real positives that Boulevard had, which Boulevard had some of the bones of Boulevard were really, really, really good and forward thinking and very innovative. There was also some holes in it. And I think House of Victory in a very general sense has kind of filled some of those holes and made it to where, obviously kind of being under a lot of people that USC is very important to them, people that will forever be linked to USC, kind of bringing it under that umbrella and kind of into that family, I think was a very key part. And obviously they've got some differences. I mean, everybody's seen it. They're running it nonprofit, and they've got a lot of, great Trojans, really backing it. And I think it's going to be a great thing for us. And obviously being able to, secure the Playfly deal and just like you felt even kind of the presence there in the stadium the other day where they can do that and they can use the marks and they can, really be kind of tied in some ways, with the university is, I think, a very positive thing. So, yeah, it's been cool to see it all evolve. I think, my message now to people would be, whatever side of it you want to be on, if you're interested from your business or from the corporate side, or, you're a younger person and you're wanting, to, attack it from this end, or maybe you're a longtime USC supporter, you want to attack it from this end. I think what we have now is we have something for everybody. Like anybody that wants to be involved with NIL at USC in any way, there's one for you. And on top of it, I commend the university and athletic department for hiring, an NIL coordinator here in house, because it is such an important position, and it's good for our athletes to have that resource. It's good for our supporters from any from any area that you could imagine, to have somebody they can directly communicate with. So now, I mean, I think for the USC people, it's not, there's somewhere to get involved, and I promise you there's one of them that's going to fit you really well and accomplish what you want to accomplish. And so it's good to be in that place for sure.
Thank you again.
We'll wrap it up with Keely.
Hey, Coach, I was just curious, from your perspective as a head coach, what do the next 3 months look like for you, and what are the top priorities for you and your program?
Next 3 months, well, the guys are going to be getting out on the road recruiting starting next week. So all the assistants will be out all over the country. This is a really great chance to get out and watch spring football, go see these coaches. This is a really important time, especially in just the evaluation side of it, not only for this coming up year, but the future years. We'll be hosting a lot of recruits on campus, be it the transfer portal, or we'll do the majority of our official visits for the upcoming year, kind of here through June. So it'll be a lot of great, hosting opportunities. And then a lot of it for us is prep work for the summer, and then leading into the season. I mean, there's a, it's kind of nice to be done with spring early, because you now know exactly what you need to do. The spring clarifies a lot of kind of where the team needs to head, and then you start putting those plans down on paper, and that's everything from the off-season plan, the nutrition plan, how you're bonding the team together, how you're teaching, how you're developing. And this is kind of the fun part of it, is you start to have an idea of who all you're going to have on the roster and what they need to do. And it's a lot of planning and a lot of anticipation for the guys to be back here in early June, because obviously it'll be very important for this team the next 3.5 months, with it, especially playing a week 0 game, and with as quickly as this season's going to come, we've got to have an elite 3 months and really be ready to go on July 27th.